新春到，好热闹，这个百姓市集欢声笑。说了个江湖义士叫蓝梦，他会幻术。
Gather round, one and all, for a wonder like none other. We have an audience. Behold my mystical talents, passed down for millennia. Watch closely now.
Criminal spotted ahead.
Me? Apologies, that's all for today. May we meet again? Chat! This'll be a breeze.
Case closed.
Maybe we could just talk this over.
咱们是趁乱一抽烟，2个人影都看不到边，为救手带大，让你也逃不出我手指间。一个丢一个三个人性不变，一个是左右摇摆青丝。
Give it up, miss! Take a breather, would you?
新春到，好热闹，这个百姓市集欢声笑。说了个江湖义士叫蓝梦，他会幻术。
Gather round, one and all, for a wonder like none other. We have an audience. Behold my mystical talents, passed down for millennia. Watch closely now.
Criminal spotted ahead.
Me? Apologies, that's all for today. May we meet again? Chat! This'll be a breeze.
Case closed.
Maybe we could just talk this over.
咱们是混乱一股烟，两个人影都看不到边，为看守怠慢，让你也逃不出我手指间。一个低下，一个
Ooh, look.
过人命无电，一个是左右摇摆青丝。
Give it up, miss! Take a breather, would you?
everybody, and welcome to the NBPL Spring Split. Get ahead of myself here for 2025. My name is Hitbrent. I'm joined by Raven, and we're going to be kicking off some trios action. Raven, welcome back. How are you doing, mate? You all right?
I'm doing wonderful, Hitbrain. It's good to be back. It's been a long off season. We're finally back, kicking off the season with trios, and there's been such a shakeup this season, Hitbrain. Just looking at all the roster changes, I'm just ready to sit back for the first day and really soak it all in. One of the biggest changes for me, at least personally, is the two GOATs, TXJ, VVV, finally splitting up. Most of the league on different teams right now. Also, new teams in the league. A lot of stuff has been shaken up, but you were mentioning earlier before we got on, GG has stuck together. The former, like, super titans of the league happy to stay together. I'm thinking they're going to be quite the force to be reckoned with as everyone scrambles to kind of form that synergy with these new rosters.
Yeah, I think that's always something which happens at the beginning of the split, where you got new teammates, you've got new rosters, even new metas and stuff. There's a lot to kind of be adapting to. So it can be, you know, for a little bit, we got to let everything kind of settle. We got to let it all chill out. But today, especially, is going to be a learning experience for mostly us, because a lot of these players will have been practicing in the run-ups to everything. But for us, it is going to be a bit of a learning experience to see what these guys have been cooking up in the off-season. For you guys at home, though, you can grab yourself some Twitch drops. Make sure that you have your Naraka account linked to your Twitch account, and you will just grab some goodies from watching these games. Obviously, the daily drops are the ones that will be up for grabs today. Next week on Sunday, the bi-weekly finals, that's where you'll be able to grab your hands on the Mirage coins, and then the second weekly bi-weekly finals, you'll be able to get yourself the logo, etc., etc. Right, let's talk comps, I think, because I think that's where it's going to be quite exciting. I was having a chat with Savaria before we came live, and a lot has changed. I think there is a certain hero who's been introduced during Worlds, has changed the game a little bit for trios. Raven, what are we expecting coming into today for comps?
I mean, we saw it at Worlds. Syra just absolutely decimated the meta. Whoever adapted quickly, started using Syra in trios, really profited. But that doesn't mean that the old composition still may not be there. We've seen Viper composition, the former Attack on Titan, now it's just Viper, still going around having a ton of success. Even with the Wu Chen nerfs, we still see that composition being used. Now with Syra, things that you traditionally saw, the Sand Sniper with that Takeda, or now with Zai, you always see Syra backing up the rear. It just gives a little bit more of an oomph when it comes to those team fights, when it comes to those Yang fights, that allows teams to really snowball. Because last year, we saw a really drastic change in the league with the MVP system, with the point system, placement not being as heavily favored, and having to go back to the tried and true of having to win a round. So we see super stacked end games, but more importantly, what I think you'll appreciate a lot this season, Hitbrain, a lot more action. Everyone is going to be getting in there and getting oogly boogly.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't had much downtime for a while in Naraka, and it just feels like every time we have like a kind of change in the game, it feels like it's added some way to encourage and kind of cattle prod them together to have more fights. You know, we had the Realm of Yangs initially, now we have the Spirit Wells, then the Spirit Wells stopped turtling and stuff like that. There's so much. But here on your screen, we have all of our teams who are playing. Just a quick note, YZGRKLA just rebranded. Actually, I believe these guys have the same comp. I need to double check that, but I'm pretty sure they are the same comp. SR are a brand new team to us, OA as well, and WZ. Bunch of new teams joining us, so welcome. I'm very excited to see how these guys are going to be matching up with everybody else. In today's action, though, we don't have any new teams. Oh, no, we have SR. We have SR, and if you count YZG under the rebrand, then them technically, but we'll get to see some SR action today, and then a bunch of other teams returning to us. GG, like we said, not changing coming into this split. They've stayed as this GG for quite a while now, so they're very, very experienced of each other. They're going to be coming in all guns blazes, like you said, Raven.
And I mean, the World Finals has eluded them, so them sticking together just shows their dedication. They pretty much declared it from the beginning of last year, and they're going to be making another run for it. Now, the champs are in the lobby. Wolves, very surprisingly, be able to clinch it up. surprised everyone at J-Cup as one of, not really the favorites, one of the more dark horses, but still doing excellent. Now, for today's schedule, Fedoria, Morning Dew, Hallross Sunny, Morris Midday, Hallross Dusk, Morris Night, and Fedoria Midnight. It's always a little mixed up to me, brain, but between solos and trios, they actually like just flip the Fedoria for some reason when it comes to solos and trios. I never understood that.
Yeah, I don't understand it either, but that is what we're going with. So I'm just a little bit caught off because I didn't get to watch solos yesterday, so it's my first time seeing the stage since the rebrand. Man, it looks pretty. That's a cool stage. I will miss them sitting on I know they are on leveled areas. Are they? I can't tell. We used to have them on steps. They'd be leveled up. But this is a cool old stage, this one. Wolves on the screen. Current world champions defending their spot. Obviously, things have changed. Members have moved around a bit, but still the organization going to be looking to keep that going for themselves. Go back to J-Cup and defend once again. J-Team did it 2 years in a row before eventually kind of just evaporating as a team. Bowder on our screens. Bowder were always an interesting one for me because they were just such a team who never really showed up all last year to me. Like, I had like the odd day where they looked really good, but for the most part, they were just a relatively underwhelming team for me. So I want to see more from Bowder because I know people like Moxie and stuff used to really big up Bowder, but I've not seen enough from them. So I want to see more this split.
Last season, I really supported them because they had one of my favorite players, Yu, who has been kind of passed around between previous teams, but I knew him when he was in KLA because of his Wu Chen play. And when I did get to go to Worlds and meet him for the first time, I showed him like how I got his signature, told him that he was one of the best players in the league, and he didn't believe me. And now he is one of the most coveted players when it comes to teams. Every single team he's kind of gone to has elevated to the top 4, and it's really on the back of his support play on Wu Chen, but his also position 1 play where he is one of the premier fighters of the league. Now, Bowdo actually was one of those teams that had a couple really star players move over. I know XEM moved over there, and this was part of the big roster switch-ups. There's a lot of former champions all getting mixed up right now. Usually a lot of the champions were all consolidated into like one to like 4 teams. But now there's been so many years of Naraka that there's so much experience being passed around the league that I'm really excited to see what new things all these guys are going to be. And there's DXJ, my man, the general, the emperor of China, one of the best tacticians this game has ever seen. A lot of the times when we see these compositions hit brains, it's really because everyone is just copycatting that man.
Yeah, I mean, we do seem to have a few players who just innovate the meta, and recently they have been, you know, the #1 guy for that. DRG here on our screen, not changing at all.
Yeah.
Actually, no, WX98, he was on a different team last season, right? Maybe they have changed. Oh, I need to look at last year's roster somewhere. I need to find a file that has that. But mostly unchanged, potentially not changed at all. I cannot remember if WX98 was on another team. I've got a sneaking suspicion he was. ASE, this is just an entirely new roster on ASE. Very different. I am not particularly familiar with any of these players. Raven, do you know anyone?
Not these particular players. I've been watching the league for a long time. I definitely have favorites. My personal favorites, you, TXJ, VVB. A lot of their rivals, like I've always known like the GGG or GG roster, 330, all the big monk players, but still, I mainly follow these teams. DRG, last season actually, they were always under the radar, but they were always very consistent. It's just like the stellar play and the storylines of Alliance and Wolves really coming out and proving everyone that they can be one of the top 4, that they're one of the titans of the league. KLA rebranding to YZG, like you pointed out earlier, them still being up there. The top 5 has always been very hard to spike in, and Wolves showing that it is possible for a team. Now, Wolves did have a ton of like former champions on their roster, and now that roster being mixed into the league, I'm really curious to see which new talent rises to the top. But I gotta say, if I have to pick a team, I would always go with my man TXJ and VVB, but now that they're split up, I just don't see them being as strong. Hopefully, might be proven wrong by TXJ. But I believe GG will surprise everyone. It looks like, though, Alliance is keeping that roster. They were also another team last season that really surprised everyone with their aggressive play, with their they didn't really focus so much on the macro, just like taking fights, and it worked with a ton of success. Now that there's been an off season, now that they have a season under their belt, are they going to mature into a team more like GG or Wolves?
I honestly feel like this is the season that makes or breaks Alliance, because you are right. Last season, those guys came out of nowhere. Everybody has been low-key cheering Alliance on while they've fumbled the bag every time. And then last season, they actually had a really, really good run. It wasn't quite enough, but it was a good run. And we saw a lot of promise from them. We saw a lot of capability from them. And like you said, now that they've had some off-season, now they've had time to chill, I want to see that they've kind of taken the foundation of what they built last year and they improve upon it for this split. And I think coming out of the gates, GG, Alliance, these teams who are already kind of pre-practiced with each other and pre-established, they're going to have a massive advantage, at least for the first couple of weeks, where everyone else is still trying to get used to playing with each other in a live setting, because they will have had time, obviously, to do practice and scrims and stuff, but in a live setting, it is different. So I get the expectation for what we'll see is, you know, the likes of Alliance, the likes of GG, the likes of YZG as well, who are basically the same team as KLA. They're going to come in actually having a very strong start to the split. So I'm very excited to see what these guys are going to be pulling off and getting a lovely little bird's eye view of the new stage. That looks so cool, man. That looks so cool. Round selection coming up. FPX, SS1, YZG, and GG will all be in that first selection. They're going to get their hands on whatever they feel like. I get the feeling those comps are probably going to contain Cryo. Like that's going to be my bold guess for what's going on there.
Something that happened at J-Cup that was spectacular as well. Now BBE's in here. The global scene did way better than ever before. Now it's definitely because they were in NBPL for the full year, but that was their goal. They joined NBPL, a lot of these Vietnamese teams, to gain the experience to do well at J-Cup. And they absolutely blew it out of the water. If it wasn't literally for one fight, for the first time, a global team might have taken the actual first place. Now, Wolves was able to fade through because that team was not able to MVP the fifth or one of the final rounds. Wolves ended up taking it. But it was very, very close. So this next season, the global scene has shown up. I'm excited to see. Now, what's kind of sad to me, just because I feel like it takes a long time to build synergy. It takes an entire season to build synergy. We saw how long it took for JL to gel. With VVV with TXJ, they spent the entire years together. And a new third is very, very hard to work with. But they brought it together right before Worlds. Now, all the global teams, they just took them, they just shook them up, and they mixed them all up. Everyone is on different teams, but it's all the same core players. They're just all now playing on different banners. Now, I've heard before that the Vietnamese teams, they've all been competing since the beginning of the game, and they've always, from season to season, kind of switched it up. Someone bumps heads, someone might think they want something a little bit better, or it's just they think this player's a little bit better, and they constantly switch up teams from season to season. So I'm interested to see how these new foreign teams end up playing together.
Yeah, that's going to be very interesting. I mean, what have you been going on about that? We've had a lot of interesting stuff happen here in the hero selection. Like I said, Kyra, high value, gets picked up in the first couple of comps, and it's Siphons and Sand Siphons. But what we have got from the Siphons and the Sand Siphons is there is a variance to that, where some people are on the Karumi, and then the Kyra, and then the Takeda. Some run the Tumult and keep the sand part of the Sand Siphon, and then just forfeit the healing in the Karumi and go for the Kyra instead. So we saw a bit of variance coming through on that. We've got the new version of the Monk comp where you can run Zai as instead of Takeda as your kind of interrupter in the middle of those fights. There's really, really interesting pickups. A lot of blind dates showing up as well, which I knew would still be around, but I did also hear that the blind date comp did change a little bit, but it looks like they're running that traditional variant of the blind date. So very interesting to see this from the players going in, and we'll have another little look at those comps across the board. Actually, also have another transformer comp that uses the Kylin as well as the Zai variant. So a lot of variation in our comps. Just the Kryra kind of ruling the roost as the strongest character in the game at the moment.
And traditionally, from last year, the only traditional comps that I'm seeing is that nice Viper composition at Alliance, which they were known for, their Viper composition. And we saw this last year, the opening season, the most success people had with the new map and just the new season was actually Viper. But looking at all these compositions, GG running Sand Siphon with Syra, like you were mentioning, Hipbrain. Everything else is like a rank composition. We got Karumi, Monk, Zai. What is this? We got Monk zipping Kylan. Am I just loading into a random lobby? Like, if it wasn't for the fact that we have some Siphon compositions with that Takeda Syra, I would say I'm in some rank lobby by how this is looking. So I'm very excited to see, because at least in rank, and not heavily organized play where you're just trying to get as most frags as possible. And I experienced this even on the Cien lobby. They also play a ton of these compositions. How does this work when everyone's playing for keeps? When everyone is not going to overextend and they're going to just save up, possibly save up to go to Yang and play these end games out? Because like durability is always a question moving forward. Now, in the beginning, where a lot of people don't have the defensive setups coming through, the gimmicks of that Viper silence coming in, we're going to be seeing a lot of that. Will it have the same success it did last year?
Alrighty, well, we load into game number one. GG. This team just doesn't change at all. Dropping in the same spots as always. Wolves are there, though, in the area to potentially go for a bit of a grief onto them. LXM just going to grab some loot as we're going to cut actually over to the center of the map as Alliance are getting themselves immediately in a fight. This is what you want from these blind date comps. Get hot off the heels, use that Tessa's ability to get the ult charge very quickly. NY7 going to get isolated from their team, just grapples back up onto the high ground as SS1 healing back up. Yuma comes in, got himself a fair amount of damage with that blue pole sword. He's going to get some damage off. Yuma locked down, and Alliance starting the season off, losing the fight here to SS1. Water remaining on the team as well, able to secure himself the kill. Nice start for SS1, 3 kills off the bat.
Off spawn, absolute cinema. We're getting the first Ooga Booga of the year. YZG versus ASC. TXJ under the new banner. Can he lead his team to some success? Now, normally, we saw TXJ on the middle role, this position to try to impact this. Now on the Syra, possibly feeling that Syra has the biggest impact on the Sand Siphon, leading with these light attacks, holding Han against the corner, playing that staff. Clank's gonna be coming through, jumping back into the mix, peeling for his teammates, lifting everyone up, going back to Han, has the gold up. CG is down right now, ult's gonna be used. TXJ has a chance to turn this around. Han's down to 1 HP, getting the lift off right now, down to his last sliver, and he is going to trade us out, but his teammate, CXZ, is going to go down. Can he close out Miss? No, he cannot. The Soul Bloom's going to be coming through, and the ultimate is going to be coming out from that Kylan. Will TXJ be able to survive?
Well, getting the nose beam off, a bunch of damage down onto the last 2 members, but I don't think TXJ has enough in the miss. Tries to get the flashbang down onto them. Doesn't actually hit it with the orb. And I think that probably should just spell the end of TXJ. Does get another little charge off from that staff, but they are too low. 1 clang will do it. TXJ knows it, and that should just be the end. Repeated crossbow even coming out from Zhao Wen. Just to lock TXJ down. He's doing a good job of surviving. Once again, throws down the attempt to get the stun off, the dazzle off, but doesn't get it. Does get a nice little backpack. Onto 1, but there he goes. ASC able to secure that kill and take down the final member.
Lovely off spawner, and you're seeing across the board, half the lobby already up to SS1 up to 6 kills. Wolves up 3, DRG up to 3, ASC at 3, SR at 3, and it looks like a lot of the scaling teams off spawn either playing very, very safe or just getting assassinated by these Viper compositions. We're going to get some Wolves versus Bauda action in the southern part of the map. ZGT being able to hit it to the bush, hide out. Will Wolves be able to find them? He is going to immediately back
Just
off.
revealed himself.
LXJ, he heard the footstep. The gig is not up. Trying to get away. Bauda's last remaining player possibly trying to meet up with his teammates or possibly trying to play for a res, has Wolves chasing them down. The crosshairs are set. Can he survive? F's going to be used out, but with 3 players chasing him, how long can he really hold out?
Not long is the honest answer. Down he goes. That is Bowder losing a player. Isolated from the team. It's interesting to see. Maybe they just ran off and got separated. I don't really know exactly what happened off the back of that one. SR, brand new team. Started off with 3 kills, so want to fight to begin this game with. Nice little start for these guys. A lot of new players as well on this team, so very interesting to see how these guys perform throughout the season. As FPX, very different team from what we are used to. Just going to be doing a little bit of looting while they got a chance. Got Rumble Yang spawning up in about 4 minutes time. So right now it's just grab whatever goodies you can for that moment, because that is going to be the probably the next major decisive moment for this game.
Everyone's just prepping for that next Rumble Yang, going to the vendors, trying to hit that sweet spot by the armors. A lot of like Naraka has evolved this macro game, very similar to even like I would say MOBAs, that it's less RNG than it was initially in the game. A lot of the strategy now has to be do with setting up your money, buying the right Jades. Now, Jades are still random of what's available, but which one you get and how you set up to buy them definitely requires a ton of strategy, and you see a lot of these teams exploit that consistency moving forward. Now, I was looking at the lobby. There was only 35 alive. I was wondering which team was missing someone, and it's Bowda. They're in a 2v3 situation. White armor being chased down by YZG.
When we just saw ZZZT get taken down as Jing going to be joining their teammate. No revives available. Zem, I don't know if they had the money. If they, they do not have the money to buy a rebirth. This is going to be very rough here for Zem. He just kind of needs to survive until 21 minutes and everyone jumps into the runway Yang. Then he has some chance to quickly run around, grab some goodies, get some Dark Tide coins, and then hopefully get the revives off. But that is going to massively slow down Bowder's start to this game, because half of this game is going to just be requiring funds to get your team back, and then you've got to gear them. So they're going to lose a lot of time off the back of that one. Now we're seeing BBE actually being chased here by WBG. See if they decide to turn it around. Roy Hehe remaining part of BBE, but everybody else a newer member to the roster. So that's like Roy Hehe. Going for an escape. Looks like they're not even interested in fighting. Feels like everybody's starting to just chill out, like we're saying. We've got the Romyang soon. That's where we expect to see these players and these teams actually go in for those scraps. Right now, it's just make sure you're pretty well set up for it. And just having a quick look at DRG there. Purple armor and purple longsword. They're feeling pretty good going into that Romyang. Alliance also starting to rock a couple of decent weapons here. Purple spear onto NY7. As GG losing their fight off the bat to Wolves, I believe it was, who dropped on top of them. This is almost a GG special, though. They do seem to lose a lot of their fights at the beginning of the game and then come back into the late game. That is where GG shine.
Yeah, the sign of a true champion is it's not when everything's going well for you that you find a way to win. It's when nothing is going well, everything is going wrong, and you find those small instances. You stay true to that championship mentality, you bring it back. We see GG playing that zone, playing that money area, and they're really known for their macro strategy. Now, off spawn, it's not going to always go the same way, so that backup strategy, super, super important. You see them coming in from zone, picking up that money. Now, looking at the overall map, a nice spread coming out, and this is kind of like what I expected of the season. Everyone's starting this new season, a couple new faces, new rosters. No one really wants to mess up. Everyone's going to play a little bit conservative that first round. Even though these guys are pros, there's always a little bit of butterflies when you first get on that stage and you're just trying to get into that flow state. You want to do your absolute best, and the longer you stay in the round, the more warm-up you're going to get, so no one wants to risk dying a little bit early. Now, surprisingly here, FPX and DRG cordially waiting to go in the realm of Yang, and for our first realm of Yang of the year, we are going to get DRG versus FPX's new roster.
Yeah, very excited to see how FPX's new roster is going to be faring here. Both teams running variants of the Siphons. We've got the Sand Siphon variant here on FPX, and then the Siphon on the other side. Already we're seeing ZGE getting heavily chunked out, pops that ultimate, looks for those free range shoves off, isn't actually going to really hit too much with them, gets caught out immediately. Now the laser beam from Kakaishi coming in onto ZGE. They're going to try and get some healing off, but not given the opportunity at all. You have to buy some space, but it is just relentless attacks here from the Kyra, just locking them in place. ZGE has been able to recover a little bit of HP, but immediately gets jumped back onto, loses a massive chunk off the back. Can't really see how the rest of his team's doing. You can see that Kiki's also lost their armor, but ZGE gets caught out by the parry, and Kakaishi's able to secure the kill. Now they're looking for another one. Not sure they're going to be able to hit that one. Kiki goes down. DRG find a very, very easy victory off the back of this one. Not a single player is going down. Fuyan trying to survive. Now we're going to cut over to GG and Wolves inside their Ramayang. A bit of a rematch from earlier, and it looks like GG have found that revenge, taking out Wolves, who took them out on spawn. Only one player remaining. ZK will be going down quick as well. Really, really nice to see there from GG.
GG picking off where they left off. They came up short last year. I cannot wait to see what it looks like clocking in every single day. They are known for the Cicada composition, and with Syra, they did super, super well at Worlds. Now, getting that mix up at the last second definitely puts kind of a wrench in everything, just because even though Syra was very, very powerful, it definitely was way different than the traditional Sand Siphon, where you do have that traditional position 3 ultimate that's really just there to keep your health up. Now we're going to see SR catching out Alliance's Viper right now. Junk's trying to grapple on, get the stagger off, misses the silence right now. Viper making some moves, but SR looks like they're going to be calling off the attack. YZG is going to be able to find that rebirth, but SR seems to have found someone else in the cross and are making their way to it.
Yeah, looks like we're now going to cut over to SS1. Looking at DRG's Kakaishi. DRG do add that for a million birds might, but so do SS1, so it's kind of a free fight for whoever takes it. Looks like they're both kind of not interested right now in pulling the trigger. Kakaishi very much aware of what's going on, but decides not to go in. GG also with that Vermilion birds might, now finding DRG. It is the standard. We see a lot of teams who, when they get those Vermilion birds mites, just collapse on each other and start to take the fights, while those teams who've now got the debuff on them can have to try and find this fight and get those soul blooms off them if they can. As CGS getting a little bit of damage off onto Don Q. He's going to actually almost completely chunk him out of this game. This means from the Kyra, it's doing a bit of a problem here for them, but CGS is able to break away, and he gets himself interrupted, caught out by the grapple lock onto himself, as GG deciding that this fight is actually getting a little bit too dicey for them. SS1 going to come up, though, chasing on as CGS tries to go for the turnaround, but he is pinned on his lonesome. 2 members of SS1 just running him down, able to strip away most of his armor at this point. He's just going to look for that turnaround onto Don Q9 and Kakaishi, but CGS is taken out. Massive charge from the Zai ultimate chains there. Absolutely obliterating health bars, and it is just a blender of Pavilion Merge mites going off in the distance. Huge, huge fight. SS1, 13 kills. They're going to make it 14 here with WX98. Down he goes, 14 kills. SS1 kicking it off really strong.
Juan just absolutely decimating with that Zai, finding the parry right now. They're already up to 14 kills, but Roy Hehe on the Monk, known for his Monk, still doing it to this day. 4 years into Naraka, Roy Hehe looking for that grab into the no ult zone, not able to get it. And this is the new Transformer variation. I've never seen this before. Zai with Monk. Now, you would see this on a normal rank day, but I'm curious to see how this interacts with the other team. Zai is very, very strong. A little bit of changes to Karuni being able to support Monks, but FPX going to be coming in on the Syra. And that Draco Storm. You definitely don't want to fight the Draco Storm in a no ultimate zone. That AoE is going to be assisting with the heals, the stagger, and they're just going to have a huge advantage going in. Kiki going to lead the charge on the Temi, gets his armor shredded. But now, hunting on the outside, WBG and Wolves have to be careful right now. We got a lurking team on the outside, and Leo from that TE's former championship team now on WBG. Can he bring that championship aura to this team? Already navigating them out of this sticky situation. So many teams showing up to the no old zone, appearing across the map. Everyone wants a piece of this action.
Yeah, everyone's trying to collapse in here. That not much time, unfortunately, for FPX. As oh no, sorry, they are the ones with the Draco Storm. I was looking at a different timer there. I was looking at a totally different timer, but it does look like they have lost Kiki though, so SR going to continue the chase on to these final two members of FPX. ZG not going to be surviving for long as they're taken out. Nice little pickup there from the side of SR. Grabbing themselves a kill. The newbies to the league having a really, really solid start here. How many is that? 4 kills. Oh no, I'm looking at WBG now. We're on 2 kills. It was 4 kills on SR. WBG just putting some distance away from that fight. I didn't see how our debuff gangs were doing there. I'm assuming they've done okay, as we are going to see another Realm Yang rotation spawn up. Teams are going to be jumping in, and we got ourselves GG versus SS1. SS1 have been having a killer start to this day. Let's see if they can make this Realm Yang work for themselves as well. Water gets himself up nice and high. Got that dazzle available to him, waiting for a good opportunity to slam that one down, as immediately opening up onto 2 members of GG, getting them caught in the knockups. As 3-3-0 is going to get dealt with here by Water, immediately forced to use that Kurumi ultimate just to keep himself healed up as CJS. Furen shoves already used. Actually not got the ultimate up quite yet. Will be coming in soon, but he's able to find the knock up onto CGS. Now he's got the ultimate, so going to recover that armor, but it does time out as Water just continues to beam him from the high ground here on that Syra. Doing so much work, just not letting this Takeda play. CGS is just completely locked down, constantly getting caught out. It's so much interruption from the Syra. And CGS is desperately trying to keep himself going. He's getting some healing in response, but now caught out by the chains from Juan on the Zai. He is about to lose that. Comes in for the Meteor. Does go a little bit wide. CGS loses a chunk of HP. As there's going to be a massive cone from Juan. Looking for the dazzle coming out from the Syras. CGS is going incredibly low. Down he falls. LXM is to follow. SS1 having an absolutely phenomenal start to the season.
They are going to be super kitted going into this end game. I'm very curious how this Matari and Zai is going to perform this year, especially with all this new composition I see. We still see Monks running around, and normally Monk does very well fighting against these Zais, but the big thing about Transformers is the Monk needs gear in order to scale up, and unlike Transformers, Zai doesn't really need much. She just needs a gold weapon. She just needs a purple weapon and purple armor, and this composition is good to go. Now, when they get super stacked up, they don't scale as hard, but it's still gonna be having a good time. Now, interestingly enough, DRG does have the blue buff right now, looking on the outskirts, trying to find any of these stragglers. We do have an uneven amount of players in the lobby, so someone is hiding somewhere trying to survive to this end game. And that was one thing I found pretty interesting last year, that it was super rare that you ever saw a duo or solo make it to end game. And it's just because these top teams now are so phenomenal at sniffing out where the rats are hiding and picking off those easy kills as they transition to end game.
Yeah, it's very hard to be that solo player.
It used to happen all the time.
I think also you got things like Mystic Might as well, giving the ability to scout. It's so much harder to survive on your own. There's so many more tools and buffs and just little things that will help you be found. So definitely gonna be a harder one here, as we do see GG running around. Did they spot ASE in that bush?
Definitely
They're
looked
doing
like
scouting before reviving. They're looking for a team to take out. It looks like they do have some information on ASE then. ASE unaware that their position has potentially been compromised. See if GG immediately bolt towards them.
You can hear the footsteps going around. And I'm wondering, can you grapple check a bush? And he definitely like stopped and stared into that bush. and considered like who was in it. But we're gonna get SS1 versus DRG right now. Draco Storm just giving so much sustain. A lot of poke going out to test of whether or not DRG is gonna make a mistake right now. But it doesn't look like SS1 wants a hard commit to that situation. It's really tough in this mid game to find a decisive kill outside the Yang depletion. Yang depletion really has to force the issue, but as long as the team kites and plays very safely, just holds blue over and over, it's very hard to open them up. And all you do by hard committing is open yourself up to like third and fourth parties where everyone's kind of sitting around waiting back. And if someone gets a little too ooga booga, a little bit too greedy to try to pick off some extra kills when they don't have Yang depletion, the lobby is so ready to show up and kind of punish. And we're seeing Wolves sitting in zone, navigating, not wanting to hard commit from, unfortunately for everyone, GG, who does have 2 minutes. They need to find a team to kill right now.
Don't grapple check the bush though. So you don't see DRG sitting there. DJS on the move. Does he spot the movements? No, he doesn't. So DRG able to break away from the sights of GG, and GG only 4 kills. Not particularly the greatest start to the season for this team. Typically a team who do perform better later in the game. And it's not like they're not geared up. I mean, you got a golden pole sword on CJS. He's got purple armor. Like, these guys are relatively well geared. They just need to find the opportunity to get himself a kill or two so they can get back into this game. As I believe we just saw FPX get eliminated off screen. It's GG. They find SR. This could be their only moment. CGS holding in a very bizarre position. Have we?
Hey, man.
Uh-oh. Is that a DC?
Either spectator DC'd or the server DC'd.
I think that might be a bit of a server DC. That explains why FPX went down. Better turn my light on if we're coming back. Hello. I think we can tell what happened there.
Yeah, I've actually, in all of my times in NBPL, I've never actually seen a DC before.
Even's camera's gone as well. It's all gone wrong. Everything's fallen apart.
Okay, I'm just
here. I can hear him. So don't worry. I believe you guys at home should be able to hear Raven. So while we're trying to currently sort that little issue out. Oh, it's all gone wrong. It's all gone. Oh, I've turned into Raven.
You are now me, Hipbrain. I'll see you later in another world. I got the nice hair
nobody.
now.
We have no names. Our names have been removed from the bottom.
I think what's a little bit surprised me today is just how slow everyone's playing the new competition. I was hoping to see some more Monk action in the realm of Yang, but we saw just more of what we saw at Worlds, and that's not as surprising to me. That Sand Siphon, that Takeda Temi synergy is just so strong. Then you add that Syra offense. It's not a big surprise to me that that composition is still working. And then Zai is just one of those characters that you can really just face roll everyone else. And what we saw in 2024, the Zais out there, they were so good. They're at set plays. Now, even in the realm of Yang, when you would grapple up, so many good teams now have grapple up mix-ups where you have to slam to the ground just because Zai's and one of her teammates can 100-0 you, comboing before you hit the ground. You're just absolutely dead. So I'm hoping to see more of that high-level play coming out of this year, and what people have in store. Just like I'm not really sure of what like the Zai Monk synergy is, just because at Worlds this year we did have Wamba. We had that Monk Valda going around, absolutely decimating the lobby. One of the best scaling teams. But Zai Monk is very, very interesting of how you're getting that maximum value for regrabs and such. Maybe charging up. I see a little bit of vision. But is it really that much better than the traditional Monk partners, Yushan, Valda, seeing an Feria? Like, this is one of the most interesting new competitions I've seen in a long time, and one of the most like ranked comps I've seen.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I was also just kind of sorting some stuff out of production, so I was a little split in two places there. But yeah, I mean, I just kind of want to talk about how if this game is undone due to the disconnect, SS1 are going to be fuming, man. They had like 20 kills. That is
Yeah,
That is
they were
always a rough
popping
one.
off.
They were
I'm not-
having an amazing start, an absolutely amazing start here. We'll see what happens. They might just be able to pause things while they sort out whatever issue is going on. But yeah, that was a an amazing start to the split for SS1. But I mean, also interestingly, just kind of looking at some of the comps and how they're functioning. We knew that Syra was going to be, a high priority character. We knew that she had a lot of utility in both damage, CC, and the kind of sustain that she offers. It's interesting to see how they get used, because I've always been a big fan of the Xiphon. I love Zai. She's one of my favorite characters. To see that you put them up versus the Temi version, and actually the Xiphon just slammed it. The Xiphon completely, it wasn't even close, man. Really, really huge. And I think the problem with it is Temi, not Temi, sorry, Takeda is he's a character who is very susceptible to getting locked down, and the beam and the constant kind of like CC onto Takeda stops him from really being able to have any impact. With the Zai, with the Meteor, can just press F and shoot off the distance and get a quick breast bit to kind of reposition and turn the fight, or use the F as an offensive tool to slam people back. It's interesting seeing how well those two comps, which are very similar, actually matched up, and how Zai favored that seemed to be. Obviously, we'll have to see more kind of samples of that, because I think taking one Roma Yang 3v3 and saying, right, it's the counter, and that'd be a little bit foolish. But already starting to see some of the strengths of why you'd run the Zai variant of it. I mean, Zai's still remaining strong. We saw the Zai variant with the monk, and seeing how it runs similar to how we used to use it with the Yoto or the Takeda, where you basically, while the monk's out of ultimate, you have someone to kind of follow up and just be a nuisance while he builds up that rage once again. Comps are very interesting in this split, and I'd be interested to see how they evolve over the split. I mean, the only thing that hasn't changed is Blind Date. That's the only comp that hasn't changed at all. And I heard whisperings that had changed, but it hasn't, apparently.
They were experimenting, moving Viper around, like playing with Zai Matari as like a rushdown. It survived during Koi Cup, but people moved away from it. And after the Wu Chen nerf, where now when you pour it, it's like very obvious where you're going, because it's basically just a huge signal that everyone can see in the sky. It's like, hey, we went this way, by the way. Yeah. I still thought that it didn't really matter, just because most good teams were already grapple checking you to like see which direction you went, and chasing you down pretty effectively, especially now with everyone having more grapple distance in a lot of instances, and also more stamina, so it's a lot easier to chase people down. It's just the offensive capability of that composition has been nerfed so much, and we've seen so many different variations of like the V2 AoE silence, the F1 silence into the longer stun with V1, and different variations of like Tessa being there. Yodo even showed up a little bit last year. Takeda really, really far back used to play with it. There's a lot of different variations of it, but Tessa seems to be one of the tried and true, especially because of like the point system going into this season. That was one thing that was very telling at J-Cup, is that the rosters who are very comfortable with multiple roles, depending on the map, when you didn't have your comfort pick, like how did you perform? And one of the things that surprised me last season is that a lot of teams, it didn't matter whether or not they were phase 1, 2, or 3. Generally, the way we've seen it, if you're phase 1, you're going to get the cream of the crop. None of the compositions are going to get banned. So you're generally going to be on your comfort pick for that map. But phase 2, probably your second best team composition, so you probably would be comfortable there. But phase 3 is a lot of times like the personality pick, like different teams had different choices there, and there was a lot of creativity, like KLA or YZG choosing the Zai Varia monk variation, something we haven't ever seen before. But now, like this season, after that, we saw like almost every team, no matter what phase, performing well. That it wasn't always just the phase 1 team just face rolling everyone else. Everyone came up with some good, viable strategies. Now, SS1 coming out of the gate, showing and picking off where that left off. I was curious to see whether or not Viper composition was going to do very well, but surprisingly, if GG ends up getting put on the comp, A lot of people don't know this, but GG was actually one of the best statistical Viper compositions last year. They're mainly known for their Siphon composition and even their Monk player. But their Viper composition was top 3 in the league as well. So I'm curious to see if they get put onto your Blind Date composition or the Viper composition, Attack on Titan, whatever you want to call it, just playing that Viper, that hit and run play style, how well are they going to play? And how do you pick apart all these new compositions? Who's the target that you're silencing? Who has to go out first? Because for the first time, I'm not going to lie, this is the most amount of variation I've ever seen in a season, an opening season of compositions.
Yeah, I think, you know, there's a lot of areas which the game has improved over the years. The pace of the game has been probably the biggest thing that we focused on. I have always had an issue with, like, lobbies of 16 monks. Obviously, that now is totally impossible, but we used to have, you know, those lobbies where it was 16 monks, no one did anything, everyone waited until the end of the game, and then all the lobby would just be throwing hands at each other from monk. It was boring. It was uninteresting. We started to see some variants, and over the last year, there was so many different viable comps. It felt like, you know, hero points were barely getting used by some teams just because there was enough variants for them to not even have to worry about that part of the game, where some teams were a bit more confident in using the hero points to play the comps they're better at. Right now, we do have a lot of different stuff that can get played, and I'm very excited to see how it's going to be going down. Oh, okay, we're off air.
Okay, thank you. 3 minutes. They had us going for like 10. I'm gonna grab a drink real quick. I'll be right back.
All right. Yeah, see you in a sec.
我今年的目标只有冠军。他强任他强，清风拂山岗。接下来的故事由我来书写。
去拿下胜利，尽情的享受观众的欢呼。
聚光灯下，成绩才是硬道理。
在我们面前，你们一点机会都没有。
这个赛场上没有我击败不了的对手，最大的敌人就是我自己。那就至于不会亲手去打破。新赛季也到了该证明自己的时候了，还是先过我这一关。
今年你们还能卫冕联赛的冠军吗？
当然，现在我们无人能敌。不好意思。这次我们还在感受一次捧杯的感觉。
话别说的太早。今年由我照单全收。
先让自己相信自己，然后我会让你们相信我。
这一次，成名在望。能打败你的，只有我。我准备好了。
想要成为新的传奇，先打败我吧。
春到，好热闹，这个百姓市集欢声笑。说了个江湖义士叫王梦，他会幻术。
Gather round, one and all, for a wonder like none other. Huh? Ah, we have an audience. Behold my mystical talents, passed down for millennia. Watch closely now.
Criminal spotted ahead.
Me? Apologies, that's all for today. May we meet again? Catch! This'll be a breeze.
Case closed.
Maybe we could just talk this over.
咱们是混乱一股烟，两个人影。